Hey, welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. Today we're talking about King Mont and 2B, brand new synergy that's kind of evolved in the last week or two. What makes it so potent and powerful in terms of competitive advantage, how I discovered it in the top 10 of the arena the last week or so, and then kind of talking about why it works and what you should look forward to when you try to run it or even attempt to counter it. So one of the things I discovered last week is that King Mont and 2B have an absolutely amazing synergy, so much so as it pertains to King Mont going against another King Mont. There's a legitimate advantage there when he has a 2B next to him as opposed to when he doesn't. So one thing I noticed in the arena last week was that the bonus unit is King Mont. His bonus vision card, or the vision card was his bonus. And then this week, the Phoenix is the other bonus card. So last week, I ended up giving up about halfway through the week once I started getting outpaced. I ended up around 23 or so in total rankings. I was running this combination of the comp where I was running fire synergies, some Tidus depending on the matchup. I was doing things with Garvel, but I just couldn't seem to crack through that top 10. And a lot of the meta there was King Mont and 2B. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why? And I couldn't really figure it out. Well, this week, I've started off hot. I'm kind of trying to emulate what I saw last week. So far, I'm like top 5. Obviously, that's not going to stay. I'm going to fall pretty hard. But at the very least, it's something I wanted to give a shot and see if my theory crafting was true. And so far, it seems to be the case. So 2B tilts the King Mont matchup pretty heavily. We're going to get into the how and why right now. So essentially, 2B's resistance field ability is one of the main drivers that immediately flips that matchup on its head. Stronger healing power down than Mont does himself. Decreased enemy attack potency does a ton to sway the battle overall. Her defense penetration and slash resistance penetration also turns the team fight in terms of how quickly she can burst the enemy Mont down. 2B's access to Pugilist job, kind of in that similar vein, is a major competitive advantage to taking out the enemy Mont faster. And then finally, she has some synergy with her own King Mont's slash resistance down attack. So let's get into these bullet by bullet, and I'll talk a little bit more about all of them in depth. So resistance field, absolutely amazing ability here. That's obviously a movement ability for her potentially as well to skip around the battlefield, but it increases slash and strike resistance by 20% AoE. It also nullifies Immobilize, Disable, and Berserk for the allies. Immensely powerful, and we're going to get into why. So it increases her own Mont's slash resistance by 20. What that means is when you have another enemy Mont, one of the abilities is Claws of the Young Lion, which is a 30% slash resistance in peril, kind of like you see on Gilgamesh. What that means is when your 2B uses her resistance field, you essentially turn that 38% on your King Mont to 18%. So if both Monts use it on each other, enemy is going to have a 38% reduction, but yours is only going to have a net of 18 reduction. So immediately you get more potency out of your imperil compared to what he does to your own. The second thing here is nullifies the enemy Mont's Fangs of Leonis ability that has Disable on it. So it nullifies Disable. Well, Fangs of Leonis is the one that can inflict it Disable. So in that same vein, it also nullifies the enemy Mont's Berserk status on his Limit Break. His Limit Break has a really high chance, if not basically 100% chance to proc Berserk. So right off the bat, the things that make King Mont really powerful in his abilities and in terms of the decrease of slash resistance, the disable status effect, and the Berserk status effect, this eliminates all of it. And not only does it make your own King Mont stronger overall because of the resistance, but it also makes her Mont's strike resistance 10% positive. So what you're seeing in the bottom right is King Mont's innate weapon resistances, and he's naturally weak 10% to strike. Well, when you use this, all of a sudden, he doesn't have any negative resistances. So any kind of attempt to, come at him at a certain kind of damage type, 2B essentially eliminates all of that strategy. The other thing is stronger healing power down. So long story short, 2B does have an ability, Shockwave, where it decreases healing power of 50 for the target, and King Mont has Maiming Slash on the Nightblade subjob, which has healing power down for 40. What that basically means is the enemy King Mont will receive 10% less healing than your own. So that it may not sound like much, but when you're talking about potentially getting a little bit extra to kill someone, or just long battles of sustain, being able to receive more healing than your enemy King Mont actually does have some material advantages as the team fight goes on. The other thing is it's a decreased enemy attack potency. So not only is she essentially raising his resistances, but she's nerfing enemy incoming attacks. So for incoming slash attack or strike attack, she has the Impaler ability here, which is a pierce type attack, and she can essentially make her King Mont take less damage both ways by increasing his strength and neutering what they do offensively. So this is a really important thing for keeping your Mont alive longer compared to the other Mont, which is why that relationship is so strong. The other thing is slash resistance penetration on herself. So she has a ton of it on her Limit Break, where if you were to level it up to max, you essentially get 30% slash resistance. So there's a in terms of how you can chuck down the enemy Mont really quickly and kill him faster, this is a valid way where not only is he going to get a 38% apparel from King Mont, but if he does have high amount of slash resist anyways outside of that, she's going to be able to penetrate through that fairly heavily. In addition to strike damage here, where she has the Pugilist sub job. Now, I know when you're running her as a Toxic Evade unit, you typically run the Samurai for the access to Illusion. That, to be fair though, she doesn't necessarily need it to be that high. She can really innately evade just off of the Sage Hat and pending raid drop from the Winter Flan, as well as what you put on her for Tetrasylphid and whatever you do for accessories. But the Pugilist sub drop was obviously access to strike damage, which is Mont's weakness. So if your Mont has positive strike resistance, but the enemy Mont has negative, 2B can still kind of bruise him pretty hard. In addition to the options of the slash damage, which we just talked about, where she can penetrate that, which is a really important way that King Mont can be built a ton of different ways, and 2B has a ton of different ways to attack him depending on how the fight goes. The other thing is, and I mentioned this in my review, she has 3 damage types. So we saw the Impaler ability as a Pierce type. She's got the Pugilist sub job for strike, and she does have slash attack abilities as well. So the thing is, you can't hedge against all 3 materially. It's too much of a resource investment to do so. The only way you can universally boost your resistance against them is by boosting your defense. Well, that being said, 2B has defense penetrating passive on her, the attack enhancement. So it's a penetration of 40%. So even when you're talking about whether it's pierce damage, slash resistance, strike resistance, all of those things, she still is able to pierce through defense if that's how your enemy Mont is being built. So overall, it just gives her a bunch of different ways to attack the enemy Mont, while also giving her own Mont the chance to succeed early on in the battle. The TLDR, Mont's got a new waifu. That's it. Him and 2B, although she may not be the most powerful DPS in the game, she does so much to essentially chunk at the enemy Mont in terms of skewing that matchup that your Mont is inevitably going to outlast the enemy Mont just because he's taking less damage, he's got higher resistances, there's less weaknesses overall, and then you're typically not defending against as many attack types as the enemy Mont is when he's trying to figure out how to guard against Pierce and Slash and Strike. And if you have a Una, there's Magic. There's a whole bunch of different ways that he's getting attacked. So it's really hard to prevent incoming damage from all those sources. So hopefully this was insightful to those who wanted to see it. I at least wanted to highlight that I thought it was a really interesting theory craft to see the two of them be put together. And I know initially that I thought they'd be great, if only because King Mont's a tank and can keep the aggro off your evade unit and let her live longer. But I didn't realize how much support she actually gave King Mont in terms of that matchup overall on the front line. So thanks for watching. Per usual, comments, critiques, criticisms, all above, leave below in the comments. So I'll talk to y'all soon.